Hey, what's up, guys? Brandon Warren here, and I'm just about to kind of shoot from the hip here a little bit about how I feel about this Mike Trout situation with him losing to Miguel Cabrera for the AL MVP award. And if I'm painfully frank, I'm kind of pissed off. I'm not necessarily pissed off that Miguel Cabrera won the award and that Mike Trout didn't. I'm kind of pissed off about how, should I say uppity maybe some of the voters have been about it. And it's defensible to vote for Miguel Cabrera in some ways. I wouldn't have done it. I don't think it's a good idea. But I guess the Mitch Albom piece from the Detroit Free Press today is kind of what's driving me insane. Basically saying the stat geeks lost. And I kind of have my foot in each court. I work for a major metropolitan newspaper at the Star Tribune. And I also work for Fangraphs, a major player in the statistical community. And granted, I'm not Lavelle Neal, I'm not Phil Miller, I'm not Joe Christensen, I'm not any superstar at the Star Tribune. Similarly, I'm not a superstar at Fangraphs. I'm not Dave Cameron, Bill Petty, Carson Sestouli even. I'm not any of these guys, but I have my foot in both camps. And for me, the idea that the mother's basement thing is just, it's gone from kind of a funny, lovable nickname that you really hate inside, but you can laugh about, to basically the common denominator for people when they choose to denigrate folks like me who live in my mother's basement, even though I'm coming to you from my very own office in my home. And the idea that we're just some sort of silly people that make up all these stats rather than watch the games and sit in front of our spreadsheets with our computers and our calculators and all that nonsense. It needs to come to an end. The infighting has to stop. I think the biggest thing that upset me about Albom's column was that he made up a bunch of stupid statistics that he acted like we would care a whole bunch about. I mean, triples with a certain color of underwear on, and a guy like that shows a fundamental misunderstanding of what we're trying to convey as a sabermetric community when we create statistics. I mean, WAR doesn't exist in any other fashion than to show how players are valuable to their team in terms of wins they add, or in the case of a guy like Delman Young, subtract. And it's silly to denigrate people who are trying to push and further the statistical understanding that we have for this great game. When it's like being at the back of the class and making the fun of the smart kid, although you're the popular jock or whatever, and 10 years later, that jock's still living at home working at whatever those low-paying hometown jobs are, and stat geeks are out creating all the products that we all like. Now, and not to ramble too far, but the other thing that really got me was how some of the award voters act like they should be above reproach for their decisions. And a number of people in my Twitter feed said, if you have an opinion, you need to be prepared to defend your opinion, to take heat, for having that opinion. And, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think the biggest tweet that may have ticked me off was Evan Grant, who voted for Michael Young inexplicably last year at one point in the MVP race when Michael Young is a shell of his former self. Evan Grant tweeted, "These are our awards." Your awards? You've watched the games. You watch the games just like fans do, with the exception that you travel with the team and you sit in the fancy press box. And I've sat in a press box before. It's a great experience. You get to talk to the players and everything, but they're not your awards. You didn't accomplish anything. And are we who don't vote for the awards jealous? You're damn right. We're absolutely jealous. We would love to be in the position to vote on the awards, to report on a team every day, to be a part of that whole bigger thing. You have to believe that's what is getting me motivated to someday become one of those, whether it's on the sabermetric side or on the traditional mainstream media side. And not only that, but these guys write for newspapers that may or may not even exist in the future. We're talking about the future of news media. And they have the gall to make fun of us for living in our mom's basements when they work for newspapers, which are struggling at an unprecedented rate in the history of newspapers in America. It's such a silly argument. And granted, I will definitely concede the idea that sabermetricians, have not been the friendly side of the argument. In all honesty, neither side has been. So to blame one or the other is just preposterous. Everybody on each side of the argument is unwilling to budge. It's very, very akin to politics. And I don't know, the idea that these are our awards and that we give them out, you can't make it about you. You have to make it about the players. It shouldn't be about the players in any manner or fashion off the field. It's on-field production, regardless of the quality of the team, regardless of how the player played at any arbitrary end point to another end or beginning point. I don't care what you did from September 1 to September 30 if you were clearly the inferior player from April 1 to August 30. It just doesn't matter. It's simple math. Why is the guy that's better for 6 months not as good as the guy who's better for 1 month? Why is he not better? I mean, the WAR argument can be thrown out even if you look at the fact that in every facet of the game, with the exception of power, Mike Trout was better, and a lot better in a lot of them. Fielding, running. I mean, the guy hit leadoff. Who's he gonna freaking drive in? Who hit ninth for the Angels this year? I mean, you don't play baseball in a vacuum, but at the same time, you have to look at stats in a vacuum in some manner or fashion. And I'm rambling now. I understand that. It's just this mainstream media versus the geeks war needs to come to a stop, or at least a peaceful armistice where we understand each other. And the biggest thing that I want to see stop is that the newspaper people stop denigrating the bloggers, because I don't know what it is. If it's fear, because it has to be scary that there are people from their homes who can provide as good of content, in my view, of course this is just my view, as the people who are there on the spot. And I mean, the guys on the spot get the scoops, but where does the analysis come from? Think about that. Thanks for listening. See you later.